What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Fish the Moment. Today I'm on Beaver Lake in Northwest Arkansas, and I'm going to be doing a 3-hour challenge video for you guys. What that means is I'm actually going to go out here on Beaver Lake and graph around for an hour, try to find some fish. I've actually never been to this section of Beaver Lake this time of year before, so I have no idea what they're going to be doing. I have no idea where to even start, so we're going to figure that out. I'll walk you guys through that process, and then I'm going to give myself 3 hours to try to catch 5 bass. 5 keeper bass in 3 hours. Last time I did a 2-hour challenge, and that was a little bit too short of a time window, and so I'm gonna do 3 hours this time. That's kind of like a normal night tournament that you might fish on a weeknight, and so hopefully I'll be able to put 5 bass in the boat. I'm gonna show you how I do it step by step, every step of the way with Sonar recordings, contour line maps, hopefully my fish catches as well. So let's get into it and get some fish in the boat. Before I started this 3-hour challenge, I gave myself an hour to scout the lake, and I spent the entire hour graphing offshore structure. And whenever I'm graphing offshore in the fall, I like to check different sections of the creeks I'm in. So I'll graph the main lake, the first third of the creek, and the middle of the creek. And I'll graph any type of structure I find looking for fish and looking for cover. And I did this on the Rocky Branch area of Beaver Lake, and I didn't really see anything that great. I did see a few images that had some fish in them. There was some drops with brush piles that had some fish, some rock piles that had some fish, and one point that looked pretty good. But overall, my hour of graphing was a little bit uneventful, so I wasn't super optimistic going into this challenge, but definitely gonna make the best of it. Well guys, that's it. It's the end of my hour of graphing. I really didn't find anything that great. I found one point that we're probably gonna start on that had some fish on it, and found a couple other offshore spots that had some brush piles, had some fish around them. Nothing looked super great. One of the brush piles looked like it might actually have some good fish in it. So I got a couple brush piles, I have a point, maybe a couple other spots we can check and just maybe drop shot on. But other than that, nothing that great. So we're gonna have to kind of probably do a lot of junk fishing in this 3-hour challenge. I'm gonna be doing some fishing on some offshore stuff, probably gonna go fish some of these docks. They're shaded, and then maybe even run to the back of a creek. So you're gonna see kind of all the tricks I have in my toolbox in this 3-hour challenge, and that's kind of how it goes a lot of times in October. And also Beaver Lake is just a tough lake in general. If you've ever fished out here or heard about it, it is not an easy lake to catch fish on, and so this is going to be a really big challenge for me in these 3 hours, but hopefully I'll be able to put something in the boat, figure it out, get some fish in the boat. So what I'm gonna do now is actually rig up all my tackle. I'll walk you through what I'm rigging up. I have nothing tied on right now, and then we're going to start the timer and start the 3-hour challenge. Okay, so I just finished up rigging up my rods. I kept it pretty simple. First off, as always, I have a 3/4 ounce football head jig. Love this bait. It's my #1 confidence bait, and so I caught all my fish on my last 2-hour challenge I did. So hopefully I can get a few more fish on this today. Pretty sure I will. Just a little 3/4 ounce football jig with a Strike King minnow scrub on the back. And then I also have a drop shot for my other bottom bait. Just a little drop shot here with a 1/4 ounce sinker and a 4-inch Strike King Elastec worm. This thing floats and it's really, really nice. And then I have my trusty 3.8-inch swim bait on 1/2 ounce jig head in case I see some fish suspended, which is pretty likely with the lack of cloud cover and wind today, so I might be able to find some fish on this when it's nice and sunny. And then if we get around some boat docks, I also tied on a 5-inch flutter spoon so we can do some spoon jacking, which is fishing a spoon in the boat slips. So hopefully these 4 baits will be good. Also have a few other baits on just in case that are out in the box for shallow fishing, but I'm hoping we don't have to resort to that. We can just focus on the offshore stuff and the docks. We should be good to go. Need to get us off the rocks over here, and I'm gonna start the timer. We're gonna get going. And some of you guys may have noticed that I'm wearing a little bit different clothes than normal, and that's because I'm repping the new Fish the Moment OG merchandise. This is the OG Fish the Moment shirt with the Sonar recording on here. It has Fish the Moment down here. It's a really nice shirt. I got some high quality t-shirts. I've washed this thing 3 or 4 times. It hasn't faded at all, hasn't shrunk, so I really wanted to get something nice for you guys. And I also have the Fish the Moment OG trucker cap where I have my old logo. And if you've seen this video, I actually have my new logo that I'm using on my website and all kinds of stuff. And once I sell out of all the OG merch, I'll be making another run with the new logo on them, and here's some examples. And so if you like these shirts, definitely go pick them up. And if you're an original, you know, fan of Fish the Moment, definitely get these hats and shirts before they're out, because I'm not making another run of them. Once they're gone, they're gone. Okay guys, so I just pulled up to the first point where I saw some fish. It's just a main lake point with a channel swinging up against it, and there were some dots down there, so it should be a good place to start. And right now it's 12:26. That means I have till 3:26 to fish. I'm actually going to start the timer right now. There we go. Got 3 hours, so hopefully I can find some fish, put them in the boat, and get my limit of bass. And I actually feel a lot less rushed having 3 hours as opposed to 2 hours like I did last time. For whatever reason, 2 hours just seemed like so little time, and it was pretty difficult to put fish in the boat in just 2 hours. I did manage to catch a few keepers and did catch some shorts as well, but nothing great. And if you haven't seen that video, check it out right here in the top right corner, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But right now, with the sun up, we're in the middle of the day. These are probably the toughest conditions you could ask for on Beaver Lake this time of year, when you have, you know, these late summertime fish. It's bright and sunny, super clear water, but hopefully we can still manage to put some fish in the boat despite the tough conditions. Got him. Oh, came off. What the heck? Okay, that was the first fish miss of the day. As you can see, he took my pincers right there. Before I give that fish a chance to rest, I'm gonna fire that drop shot in there. So there are definitely fish down there, which is a good sign. Fire that drop shot down there while I get a new trailer out. That kind of stinks. Got him. There we go. First fish of the day right here. There's definitely a group of them down there. It does not feel like a big fish. Feels like a very little one. Oh my goodness. Speaking of very little, this is not even a keeper. It is a smallie. Ooh. So, oh. Well, slipped out of my hands. It wasn't a keeper anyways, but at least we know what those fish were down there. So that probably was another fish the same size as the first one that bit me, but that's 2 casts in a row on this spot with that jig. Maybe I can get some 12-inch smallies off this point at least. I didn't, and unfortunately I didn't get any other bites on this spot, and so I decided to move on and check some more offshore areas where I saw fish on my graph. And I graphed 5 or 6 decent looking areas that may have had a small group of fish on them. Nothing that great though, and whenever I go to fish a spot that I've graphed before, I always re-graph it to make sure the fish are still there. And only 2 of the spots actually still had a decent group of fish on that spot. The rest of the groups are kind of dispersed, and that's really common, especially in the fall. A lot of times you'll find these fish only pull up for short feeding windows, and then they'll pull off the spot. So unfortunately didn't find too many spots, but I did find one that looked pretty good, and so I made a stop there. Got him. There we go. Little spotted bass on a football jig as I was reeling it up. Oh, stop flying off the hook, fish. Oh, number 1, I think. I got to put him on the board. That is not a big one, but I think that might be a keeper. Let's see here. His nose, mouth shut, and he is 1/8 of an inch short. So that's not a keeper fish, unfortunately, but it is a fish. I keep the bump board out. Be optimistic here. Hopefully, actually, we don't need the bump board. Hopefully, they're all just big keepers. But that was kind of interesting. I was reeling up my football jig, and that fish ate it, which is actually a good indicator that these fish might be suspended off this offshore spot I'm fishing right now. So I'm gonna pick up the swim bait, and that fish kind of bit it halfway up in the water column. So I'm gonna let the thing sink down there about 12 seconds, and then start reeling it in, and maybe that's the way to get these fish to bite, some of these suspended fish. I'm not seeing a ton of fish off this spot, to be honest. I've seen a few here and there, but it's not like they're all over the place on this spot. But this was the best offshore spot I found. It's just basically a really long ridge that sticks out here, drops off into the channel. Top bit's in about anywhere from 30, maybe 25 feet, somewhere in there. And I saw some fish on it when I graphed over it earlier today. Came back over it, and there were a lot fewer fish than I saw even when I graphed over it the first time. And so it might be one of those deals where there's just a few fish down there. Didn't seem like there were a lot of big fish down on that stuff either, but at least there's one little spotted bass, but that's definitely not what we're looking for. And I basically have graphed back over all the offshore spots that I thought looked okay, and this is the only one that really looked like it might even have the potential to have a fish, which it did. But the other thing I've noticed is that the size of the fish that I have caught out here have been very, very small, which is not what we're really looking for. Got that one little small spotted bass, and then two really small, what I think are smallmouth. The first one was, I wasn't sure, but the second one's definitely a smallmouth. And so I'm not sure what to do about that. I don't know if I need to be focusing on this spot and just trying to stick out the limit of little ones, or if I should try to jump shallow and try to get some bigger largemouth. And I'm kind of leaning towards the largemouth deal, because these 2-hour challenges can't just keep having me catch a bunch of 12-inch fish. That's going to be depressing. So I threw that swim bait around a little bit and got a few small bites, but nothing really committed. And then I started seeing some fish on my front graph and actually tried to video game fish for them. And actually had 2 or 3 fish actually bite my drop shot, but none of them committed. And I think they were just really small fish like that one I caught. And so I decided that I needed to make kind of a drastic change to catch some fish. And so I decided to start targeting largemouth in some dirtier water. And I knew there were a few creeks around the corner from where I was fishing that had a little bit of stain in the water. And I found this by looking at Google Earth on my phone while I was out in the lake. And you can see the back of this creek right here is a little bit dirtier than the main lake. And so I actually rolled back in there and started fishing a top water in shallow water and shallow pockets. And this is usually a really good technique in the late summertime to catch largemouth. And bass will be feeding on bluegill and shad back up in these really narrow, shallow pockets. And I actually got several blow-ups on a buzzbait, but I didn't have any of them commit. I was fishing in the middle of the day, bright sun, no wind, not really the best top water conditions, but I was a little bit encouraged that some of these fish were actually blowing up on my top water. Got him center of the pocket. What the heck? There we go. There's our first fish. He was just in the center of this cut. What the heck? I'm seeing some fish on the graph too right below me. I don't know if this is a deal or what, but let me get this guy on hook real quick. Oh man, there we go. Well, that one didn't miss it. That's a little keeper spotted bass, first one of the day, just literally in the middle of his pocket. I don't know what he was doing, but he's bleeding a little bit. And get him back in there before he bleeds anymore. He just kind of got the hook weird, but not floating in the bank. But that fish came on a little buzzbait here. He literally just busted in the center of this pocket, and I actually just saw some fish on the graph as I was rolling through here. So I don't know if that's just a deal or if there's just fish back in this little cut or what's going on, but maybe figured something out. If I can get even just a limited spotted bass throwing a buzzbait in the middle of a super clear creek, I don't know, maybe I can catch some fish, but we're gonna keep trying it at least, and maybe throw a couple other baits too to see if I can't get some of these fish to commit. Oh, came off. There was a good one right there. Come on, fish, come back and eat it. Crap, they're all over the graph up here too. What's going on back in this little cut? See them over the graph? They're out here. They're just suspended in the middle of this cut. I don't know what they're doing out here, but that was a, oh, there's one. He got it. That was a little guy. They're definitely out here. That was just on a little mega bass swim bait. There's better ones out here. That one I missed was a lot better than that, but just a little, right here. Mega bass spark shad, 3-inch on a 1/4 ounce ball head, and there are fish all over the boat out here. They're out here. I think I might be able to get a limit right here if I just take my time. I didn't. Again, I did take my time, but I didn't get a limit and didn't catch any other fish on the spot. I did see a lot of fish on my graph, got a few more bumps on the swim bait, but really just didn't produce any good fish. And so I decided to pick the buzzbait back up and start working through some of the shadier banks in this creek, but again, didn't catch any other fish, and wasn't really sure exactly what to do because I was running short on time, and I didn't feel like the offshore bite was that great. Shallow bite wasn't any good, so I decided to go back to the point that I started my day on, where I got those two smallmouth to bite my bait, and I thought, well, maybe there's a few fish that are still left there and I might be able to at least catch maybe a keeper there, and so that's where I headed.
Last minute heroics here, maybe? It's a decent fish. Let's see here. Stay on fish. Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a nice spotted bass right there. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. That is a good one, guys. 3/4 ounce football head jig. Actually came back to the point we started our day on. That is a nice keeper spotted bass. That's what I've been looking for all day. Oh man, I definitely made a mistake going back into the shallow, skinny water. I thought that was the right call. Actually, that is time. Literally right now, time is up. Oh, probably gonna stay and fish a little bit more. I might keep fishing and filming for a little bit because that was a nice fish right there. Look at that thing. That is a solid 2-pound spotted bass, maybe even 2 1/4 pounder. And that's what I've been looking for all day. Tried to get on some bigger largemouth. That's the reason I went up shallow, because I've been catching a lot of spotted bass out here on Beaver Lake, just not a lot of good ones, but for whatever reason, this spot right here produced some really small ones earlier today, came back and got some better, or got a better one right here, and that's really common when you're fishing offshore. And so probably made a mistake, again, going up shallow. I should have stuck with my strength, stayed out here out deep, but for the next 2-hour challenge, I will know that, and hopefully I'll be able to put a lot more of these in the boat next challenge video. But that is a beautiful fish right there. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Beautiful fish. Let's get back in the lake. Here we go. I'm gonna make a few more casts on the spot, guys, just because, you know, why not? I'm done with the challenge, but, you know, maybe I can put a few more fish in the boat, maybe salvage the video with a few more fish catches. But if I don't catch anything, I'll see you guys in a second and I'll wrap up the video. But that's what I'm talking about, guys. Got him. Another good one. That's a real good one. Stay on there, fish. Oh man, these fish don't count for the challenge, but these are some toads. Oh my gosh, look at the spotted bass that pulled up on this spot. That is a magnum spot for out here. Holy crap, look at that thing. Yes! 3/4 ounce football head jig, guys. You saw me on my last video crushing them. I actually lost a 7-pounder, broke off a 7-pounder on this football jig, fishing some dirtier water on a shallower reservoir, and then I come out here on Beaver Lake, 6-7 foot of water visibility, middle of the day, bright and sunny, and I'm catching some tanks out here as well. Again, challenge is over, but you know, not that big of a deal. As long as I'm getting them in the boat, I'm happy. Let me weigh this guy real quick. Here we go, guys. 2-pounder right there, another 2-pounder. That is a beautiful fish. There we go. What a tank. Get the guy back down there. I need to get another cast in there, guys, and see if there's even more down there, because that is 2 on 2 casts. This is why I love fishing offshore. When it happens, guys, it happens. And I know that too. I don't know why I wanted to go fish up shallow. I just felt like on Beaver, I've been catching a lot of spotted bass. And I mean, obviously right now I'm catching some good spotted bass, 2-pounders, but I mean, they're still just 2-pound fish. If I want to compete out here, I need to be catching, you know, 3+ pound fish. And so if I was gonna fish a real tournament, these fish would not cut it. But for right now, they're really, really fun. And you know, for me right now, since I'm not fishing a tournament, size doesn't matter. So not that big of a deal. But if I am gonna continue this series on Beaver Lake, I need to start finding some of those large largemouth, figuring out ways to catch them. And I think fishing up shallow in those creeks is a way to do it. And I also want to figure out a way to maybe catch them offshore out here as well, because there's definitely some fish out here on the main lake. But either way, I'm gonna keep up with this 3-hour challenge video series on Beaver Lake every single week. And I'm gonna take you guys with me as I figure out how to catch fish on Beaver Lake, what to do to maybe get some of those bigger largemouth in the boat. And, you know, hopefully you'll see the good, the bad, and the ugly of my fishing trips, so that you don't just see all of the times when I go out there and crush them, because it doesn't always happen. But a lot of times if I stick with it, and especially if I can find some good fish offshore, I can usually catch them pretty well. And so, as you can see here, the offshore bite can be really bad, and all of a sudden, they can just start firing for whatever reason. But man, these fish are awesome right now. Well guys, I'm gonna call it a day. It's a really tough one on Beaver Lake today, but I did manage to get a few fish in the boat by the end. And so hopefully you learned something, even if it's just to keep fishing to the end and don't give up, and also keep that football head jig glued in your hand, because it works on all kinds of bodies of water. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll be making a video like this every single week out here on Beaver Lake in different sections, hopefully different conditions, different times of year, all kinds of stuff, and hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. So thanks again for checking out this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.